Something that kind of made me a little sad when I was there, and it's also going to be kind of like advice to people to preserve any kind of culture that they love. So it doesn't have to be Ewe, but find a culture that you really like and try to do what we're doing and preserve it. Because when I was there, it's kind of dying. Alfred is kind of a loner.
Let's back up. The man he's talking about is this man, Alfred Ledzekpo. Alfred is a Ghanaian chief, a master drummer, and a lifetime educator of Ewe drumming, singing, and dancing. He taught at CalArts for 30 years, which is where we all met him. Unfortunately, he is not our guest for this episode because he retired and moved back to Ghana. My guests instead are these nerds who all studied with Alfred. Here they are at somewhat earlier points in their careers. Together, we are the BedStuy Ewe Ensemble, which in some way or another has been carrying the flame in Brooklyn for this tradition since 2009. We've played tons of performances in parks and various venues all across New York, and we even have an album out, which I'll link below. I'm not going to say a whole lot more, but if you've never seen this music, you're in for a real treat. It is every bit as intricate, complex, and beautiful as orchestral music or jazz. Studying this music with Alfred changed the way we approach music, the way we practice music, the way we hear and see music and art, and I would go ahead and say that it changed all of our lives dramatically for the better. So please sit back, be our guest, and enjoy this concert which we put on in Brooklyn during Indigenous Peoples Day on one of the most beautiful days of the year. Okay, here's my first question. What the hell is this? Can you tell me what this is and why this is involved in a conservatory? We studied at CalArts this music. What is this?
It's a horsetail.
Okay, that's enough.
Simple as it is.
I don't think we need to answer anything else about it.
I concur.
We'll see what we do with it. Is there some significance about the horsetail and Ewe music that you know of?
Well, I can tell you what I know is that it's used today in Agbeko and some other pieces. But originally Agbeko, since it's a war dance, they use swords. And obviously now that it's more becoming a social piece, and even in Ghana now they use it for funerals and stuff, it doesn't work with swords. So they replaced the swords with horsetails. But it's not the only piece that uses horsetails. So it doesn't mean that the horsetail is its reason of being is because of replacing a sword, because there's other pieces that use.
Okay, it wasn't like, let's make this a little bit more peaceful and go for horsetails instead of swords or something like that?
I mean, I think it's also a safety thing because the turn, whenever you do the turn, which is a dance move of typical of Agbeko, you point like this. So imagine you're pointing the sword each time you can have something.
So maybe not the kind of thing you study in college with
Yeah,
swords.
exactly.
Let's back up. What is this music? Where's it from? What's going on here? This is? Are we jamming? Is this jam band music? Are we just getting some drums together and like fish concert jamming?
So this music originates from West Africa, in modern day Ghana, but also in Nigeria and Togo and Benin, and it's specifically from the Volta region in Ghana, and it's performed and owned by the Ewe people of Ghana.
What are the Ewe people? Is this a city-state? What's going on here?
It's a language group. It's called the Anlo Ewe group.
So it's the people that speak that language that play this music.
Absolutely.
And it's what, 40, 50 years old? What's going on?
Nobody knows. It's millennial.
You tell me one time, though, that when explorers or colonists or whatever you'd like to call it arrived, they were already seeing this music and documenting that people were playing this music?
I'm not sure about documentation, but they definitely encountered this music. in their exploits.
So we're talking about 300 years old at least, something like that. Is that right?
I think it's millennia.
Yeah.
I think it's thousands of years old.
I mean, when you think of a war dance, I mean, it takes you back to really old times because, you know, even in the 1800s, which we think is a long time ago, wars were different, you know. And so to imagine a time where it's a whole pep rally, so to speak,
Right.
for the soldiers with music, I think that's ancient. It's
Yeah.
not something that even 300 years. That's my guess, but of course we don't know because it wasn't documented.
And so we're jamming, right? You're making, especially on the lead drum. It looks like, of course, you're making all this up, right, on the spot.
I wish.
I'm asking some dummy questions
wish.
for people who don't know
No,
about
I know,
this.
I know.
course.
A
No.
lot of times when people see this music, including when I first saw it, I thought, oh, he's improvising on the lead drum. So you wish, right?
No, it's like Shakespeare. It's a language that's rooted in deep intricacies within the words and verbs, and you have something that you memorize and recite, like Romeo and Juliet or a sonnet. Well, that's how they see this anyway. It's something that's passed on from generation to generation, but all the intricacies of the language, all these rhythms are syllables that you can write if you want, but they're learned orally. And so because of that, there cannot be really improvisation. What you can do is what do you call it? Maybe rearrange certain things.
And you can also
But it's
add
not-
you can add on to that book as well throughout the years and throughout the generations. New families that have learned these rhythms that were passed down from their, you know.
We're talking about a book, an actual written book?
No rhythm book. It's just
So
giving
you're
the
telling me
analogy
this
of
is passed down for hundreds of years, at least, maybe millennial, just orally.
orally, correct. So by ear. So, you know, if you go to Ghana right now and you look and you know, go into one of these small villages like Anyako, you're going to see kids that are like 2-3 years old just watching the drums, and the master drummers that are performing this stuff will not allow any child to play the drum until they know that the child can play the rhythms. So everything is learned by ear.
Okay, hold on. I want to get into that in just a second. But none of this is written down. But it's composed music. This is not composed by one composer or maybe 10, a collective of composers. But this is written music. This
like
is
you said,
specific music. When you play a call on the lead drum, obviously we can tell, anybody should be able to tell when you see the...
I'll come over when you guys, I'm coming over.
Okay. Obviously, when you see the support drums, they're doing things together that are supporting the lead drum. But even the stuff that you're playing on the lead is specific calls that were passed down for generation. They're not being improvised. It's not loosey-goosey, and it's not like whatever you want to do that goes along with the ensemble.
Absolutely not.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
does it differ from town to town, or I don't know
Yes.
what they call county to county or something?
different
Absolutely,
villages,
village
yeah.
to village. Yeah, absolutely. You can travel from, you know, center eastern Ghana on the coast, all the way to the border of Togo, and you're going to encounter a completely different version of the same piece that's popular. You know, any type of wedding piece is going to be different in one village than the other village.
Do the villages debate how things should go, you think?
There are some like one-upmanship when
Yep.
it comes to the villages. There's definitely rivalries when it comes, and whose rhythm is better, who's who's more traditional, even who's old school, who's new school. There's even that as well.
Okay.
There's certain towns and certain villages in Ghana that has had an influx of Westerners come to them, and the people, the drummers in these villages have sort of modified and hybridized the traditional rhythms to make it more palatable to the Western ear,
Ooh.
which is a point of contention between some of these like traditional towns
Interesting.
that are like, we don't mind you teaching this music, but please, keep it traditional, keep it real.
So I think I asked who, what, where, when. What about why? You mentioned something about war. Let's back up just a little bit and talk about that. Are there pieces? There are pieces for war.
Not anymore. Today, all pieces are have either a social purpose, like puberty or coming,
Okay.
or social, just like because we're having an event or funerals.
Weddings, funerals.
Exactly, events. There's no more things that are as specific as war. That kind, no. So Agbeko, which used to be the war dance, is now played in funerals. It's actually the pride of the Ewe people, so that's why they played in funerals, because unlike the West, for them, especially West African, this transcends Ewes. It's all West Africans. The way they think of death is a celebration of life, and I think that's beautiful, and it moves you so much when you see it in action. Their funerals are full of joy. And so for them, Agbeko is their so biggest pride. That's why today you'll always hear Agbeko in a funeral, because they're so proud, and they're proud of the deceased, so and celebrating their life in that way.
I'm glad I don't have to play bell on Agbeko during a funeral.
Oh, that would be
because
very stressful.
It is my nightmare to try to hold on to that that rhythm. What's the most important role of all these instruments? What's going on here? What's the hardest one? Let's start with that.
The role?
Yeah, what's the hardest instrument to play in this ensemble?
Well, usually like when
Oh, come on, you said it yesterday in rehearsal. Which one?
Well,
one's
I believe the
hardest?
bell.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's this.
That's what I'm going for.
Yeah, it's the essential.
What is
clock.
going on with the bell? Tell us about why that is. In jazz, we think of the bass as sort of the root of
Yeah.
what's going on with the form and the music. How is the bell like that and different than that?
Well, I like that you bring up the bass. I don't know if we talked about that in a previous podcast, but it doesn't hurt to repeat it if I did. Is that it's interesting in the West,
Our four viewers will be fine
the
with that.
lower you go in the frequency spectrum, the more you get into timekeeping roles, bass drums, bass, even tubas,
In
which
the
is the
West.
lowest. Yes, the lowest horn is a tuba, and that's doesn't do a lot of improvisation. It's timekeeping. In West Africa, and I would say even Pan Africa, because I'm from Morocco and I feel that there's the same trend. The higher the pitch, the more timekeeping. So if Gnawa, castanets, the highest. Even Deka, it'll be the high bendir keeping the time. The low stuff will do improvisation. Ghana, Ewe, same thing. Bell is the highest. Shaker, Kagan, these are all the highest. They don't really change much. The lower you go, and then the lead, which is the lowest, has the ultimate changing thing nonstop, which is like the equivalent of a flute in the West doing the solo.
Very interesting.
And it's important to note that, the bells and throughout Africa, you can travel anywhere in Africa, you're going to find this concept of a bell. In Cuba, they call it the clave.
Right.
It's the key, right? The key to the music. The bell is never changing. It's playing the same thing, and every single piece of the music is based around the bell. So you take the bell out and the music falls apart.
Yes, I've noticed.
But Yeah, and you're going to find that anywhere in Africa, including Morocco. The Krachab, they keep on going, and it never changes. There might be certain sections where it would change, but when it's in a certain section, it's going to stay the same.
Yep. It's the timekeeping element.
What's next? What comes next?
Well, I
know it's not one and then next and all
right.
that. It
I
all
would like
fits
to.
together,
I would
but-
just like to add that usually the last drum to be learned by the ensemble, and the most prestigious, I guess, the most wise, I guess, drum would be the lead drums.
Right.
There's the Achimavu, and there's the boba. And the Achimavu is very phallic. It's shaped, and so that represents the male. And the boba is the mother. It's a round drum, big.
This isn't us
fertile.
saying
It's
this.
a fertile drum.
This is the tradition that
That's
calls
correct.
it. These instruments are known as a family, right?
Right.
And even the small one that's going on the second and third triplet is the kiti, and I call that the baby, right? Is
Right.
that- okay.
Sort of, yeah.
The
And
Kagan
The Kagan.
is the baby.
The Kagan, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Right.
That's what I meant. The small one.
Yeah, yeah.
And this you're also going to find throughout Africa as well. You're going to find this, patriarchal family of instruments that represent each member of the family.
Yeah. How long have you played this music? When did you start playing this?
I
You're
s-
from Africa, right? Can I just ask, when you first heard this music, it must have been like you immediately knew what was going on all of the levels, right?
No, I felt like I was walking into a fog machine.
That makes me feel better that you
Oh
say
yeah.
that.
It was mind blowing to me.
Okay.
And then I had to understand what is going on.
Right.
And then I studied it and figured out slowly by slowly.
So we all met at Cal Arts. I got there 2005. I met you both in
2005,
that year. And you guys started playing this music, what?
Immediately.
2004?
I actually
2006?
started.
first.
I started in 2001. I traveled to Ghana, and I went to a village called Kopeia. It's really close to the border of Togo, and that's one of the places that I talked about where a lot of Westerners went there to study, and they sort of hybridized the rhythms to please the palate of the Westerners. But I started there, and I was like immediately hooked to this music. And then
Let's back up just a second. You're a percussionist.
I am a percussionist.
Before Ewe music.
Correct. Yeah.
How did that, when you first heard it, having been a drummer all this time and you're seeing what these people are doing, what was the experience? What did it feel like?
I was addicted immediately, you know, and I was getting into more of like the Latin music at that time. I was playing congas a lot, and that's when I started playing congas.
You still do though, right?
And I still play,
Okay.
yeah. And when I went there, it was like, this is where it all came from, and it all connected and clicked for me, and I never looked back after that. Went to Cal Arts in 2004, met you guys in 2005.
Cal Arts makes a big deal about this. It's a part of their graduation. It's a part of, anything you'll look up about Cal Arts music program talks about the Ewe ensemble and what's going on. In fact, I was a jazz studies major for my master's, although, to be honest, what I did was so much, gamelan and studying the Persian name and all
Yeah,
this. But they require jazz majors to take this class. Why do you think that is? Do you think that that's appropriate?
Absolutely.
Why
Yeah,
is that appropriate?
because jazz is rooted in those sounds and rhythms, especially rhythms, I would say. The whole concept of American swing, I think, comes from West African
Right.
12/8,
The
basically.
triplet.
The triplet feel, the way they
We'll-
think of 4/4, but always subdivided in 3.
We'll get there in just
Jazz
a
is all about that. All right, are you ready? Yeah, everyone? Cops, Sam? All cops? Cops are ready? Cops, yeah. All right.
this is.
Let's do it again. Come on.